Time Fred Hunt, that's Ted Coley. Hey, Ted Coley.
Hi, Fred.
Look, I got a brand new haircut. How do you like it? I don't like it when it's all flat. I got to fluff it up a little bit. We are, speaking of speech, we're going to talk about, oh my Lord, we're going to talk about horrible, horrible things today. Aren't you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all nice and lubed up. We just watched Ted's house on Nightly News, and Fred is having personal issues. Yay! This is going to be the best speaking of speech ever.
Fred.
Every beacon of speech that I am on is a good beacon of speech. Maybe I will make an appearance later. I don't have them on the script. We're going to have to think of something. Ted Coley. We are Americans. We're putting Putin away, right? Me and you are putting Putin away. Goodbye, Putin. We are in America. Don't think that we're in Russia. We are in the great city of San Francisco. San Francisco is losing its middle class. Me and you, we would not fit in San Francisco. San Francisco is the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor. Now, the people in San Francisco do not like the homeless people. They seem to be turning up everywhere. They come from all over California to come squat in San Francisco. How do you... And again, we're not in Russia. We're in America. How do you solve homelessness in America? Ted Coley!
How do you solve homelessness?
Yes, you are a millionaire in San Francisco. No. Need to know. A billionaire in San Francisco. How do you solve homelessness? And, just so you know, don't think too hard because it is a trick question.
If you're a billionaire, how do you solve it? Right. Well, you tax that billionaire more and give everybody a house with the...
No, but you're warned. Okay? This billionaire drive around San Francisco, and he said he would give money to the homeless people, and they would buy alcohol and drugs. Isn't that shocking? And he tried to get them homes, but it never worked because they're mentally ill. And he said, so he stopped giving any money to the homeless. He just wished they weren't there, right? So when I'm reading the article, right, I'm like, oh, holy cow. I wonder if he's doing the Soylent Green thing, right? So
let me guess. Somehow, let me guess how people solve problems. It has to do with they move them somewhere else.
No, close. He is
and then the problem is solved.
No, he is, well, you're getting warm. He is going to take $30 million out of his own pocket, and he is going to give that money to the university in San Francisco to study homelessness to see what the root causes are of homelessness. Isn't that helpful? Which goes back to what me and you talked about during the week this week. Nobody solves problems. You think you solve problems, but you solve crap. Okay?
Well, it's like
Ted Coley.
It's like I told my mom. I go, everything is analyzed to death now.
Yeah. $30 million. You know what you could do with $30 million? You could give it a homeless shelter. You could feed it. You can buy probably food, right? Low-grade food for homeless people for 5 years. Well, that doesn't solve the root cause. Okay, well, what's the root cause? Well, they're mentally ill, and they're chemically dependent. What's there to study? Well, there's other people who are chemically dependent who have homes. I don't know what to tell you. Even if you study it, that's what they're going to come up with. You basically took $30 million. You might as well just have bought them alcohol and heroin for $30 because it's going to do the same amount of good for them. Because I read the article, I'm like, you're doing what with 30? You're giving it to a university. And that's going to buy 3 professors and be like, we studied it. And you know that...
Because we all know one of the main problems is universities don't have enough money.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? There's nothing to study. You know what I mean? It'd be like, you need to build some sort of homeless shelter. Well, we have homeless shelters and then they fill right up. Yeah, because other cities send their homeless to you. Just like you say, they move the problems. You see what I'm saying? They're like, oh, San Francisco built a new homeless shelter. We're going to send them more homeless. Well, what's there to study? Go sue Los Angeles or go sue San Jose or whoever is sending the homeless people there. Say, hey, where did you come from? Oh, yeah, the mayor of San Jose sent us over here. You see what I'm saying? It's like, what do you need to study? You know, we are not splitting the atom. Why are you homeless? Oh, can I have some heroin? Can I have some black tar heroin? Please? I don't have any black tar heroin. Sorry. Right? You see what I'm saying? And that is what America's become. Everything is we are working harder than you, and they're not. Right? Which leads us into our second topic, because I wanted to start with homelessness, but I wanted to go to hockey. Okay? Gary Bettman is my personal enemy, and I wrote an article a year ago on Beacon of Speech. If I could punch anybody in the face in North America, it would be Gary Bettman. Okay? Because he's basically ruined hockey. Okay? Now, Ted says I can't beat anybody up. I can't even threaten people. Okay? So, hypothetically, that's the only person I want to punch in the face. Right? Oh, are we in trouble? Are we on call?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just going to let it go.
Gary Bettman, okay, he told the newspaper, right, in an interview, he works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And when I saw it, I took a highlighter and I highlighted it and I put it on the Beacon of Speech outline. Because my biggest pet peeve in life is Gary Bettman himself. What's Ted Coley's biggest pet peeve in life?
People who say they work 24/7.
People who say they work 24/7. People are like, I am never on the clock, or I'm never off the clock. I'm working in my sleep. If I get a call at 2 in the morning, I'm working, right? I'm working 24/7. Gary Bettman is the last person who's working 24/7 because he's not growing the sport of hockey. Okay, and I told him a little bit before we even came on, he's not growing the sport. He doesn't care about I said basketball. Doesn't care about college hockey, doesn't care about women's hockey, doesn't care about minor league hockey. He cares about putting money into NHL owners' pockets, which is fine because they're a corporation. Just don't call yourself the commissioner. Call yourself the CEO of the NHL, okay? And there's a reason I'm bringing this up, okay? In the interview, they're trying to humanize scumbag Gary Bettman, okay? What's some nice things to say to somebody that you hate trying to throw them softballs, right? Name some questions you would just name to a hockey commissioner. And I'm going to see if you come close. Softballs. Remember, I hate you, but I'm going to throw you softballs, okay? What's a good softball question?
To a hockey commissioner?
To a hockey commissioner.
I wouldn't even know.
Have you ever played hockey? Oh, you know what? The hockey I played in my life, it's really immaterial. You know, I played a little bit, and he never answered how effing hard is it to answer that question? You're the hockey commissioner. They're not asking you, what's line 8 of the, charter, blah, blah, blah. Literally, have you played hockey? He would not answer the question. He said, have you ever gone to a hockey game before you were the commissioner? Right? What was his answer?
No.
When I went to Cornell Law School, a couple of my buddies took me to see Cornell play college hockey. And it was a very nice atmosphere, right? And they do you want to elaborate? And he's like, no.
He's the hockey commissioner?
Hockey commissioner.
How did he get the job if he's...
Basically, what happened is he was second in the command to David Stern. And hockey said, we want to be as popular as basketball, so we're going to steal the NBA's number 2, and then we'll be as big as the NBA. Ted Coley, 25 years later, do you think the NBA and the NHL are comparable in popularity?
No.
No! He is a big, fat failure. Now, they're throwing softballs to the commissioner, right? What did you want to be when you grew up, right? To the hockey commissioner, right? What do you want to be when you grew up?
They asked him that?
Yeah. Give me a good answer.
A hockey player?
A lawyer! You know what? When I was a kid, I was a weenie, Okay, I was a nerd. I was 4'11" in ninth grade. I was a little guy, right? And the only people who wanted to grow up to be lawyers, like, had autism or were smaller than me. You know what I mean? So he's like, wait, I gotta do the height thing, right? I always wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up. I never wanted to be when I was a kid, I wanted to be an indoor soccer player. I wanted to be a pro indoor soccer player. Okay? What did you want to be when you grew up? Honestly.
Who, me?
Yeah. What did you want to be when you grew up? It could have been pie in the sky. You could have been an astronaut.
Well, like when I was, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years old,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a football player.
Yeah. You wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a soccer player. David Sir wanted to be a goddamn lawyer. That's why we call him scumbag Gary Bettman. Because he is a big fat pinhead. He's like a piñata. You could beat on him. He's like, why are you beating on me? I know I'm a piñata. Like, he can't even hit softballs out of the park. It's like he's swinging and missing. Because, like I said, even if you didn't believe it, you'd be like, I always wanted to be a... This is going to be my Commissioner Bettman post. I always wanted to be a hockey player when I grew up. Even if it wasn't effing true. Say that's what you wanted. You're the commissioner of the goddamn NHL. You see what I'm saying? Because you had dreams when I was a kid. You had dreams. I had dreams when I was a kid. To me, that is unfathomable from a hockey commissioner. You see what I'm saying? So I'm reading this article and I'm just getting madder and madder. And, like... The writer was really trying to make you like Gary Bettman. You see what I'm saying? Like, hey, he's human. And at the end, you're like, he is a bigger scumbag than I even knew. You see what I'm saying? Like, I hate, who's the football commissioner?
Oh, Roger Goodell.
I hate Roger Goodell. Basically, he's all about money too. Okay? He's not much better than Bettman. Okay? But... in my head, I almost said Tagliabue. Roger Goodell has tried... That's the right guy, right?
Yeah, the football? Yeah.
He has made simple attempts to say, when the New York fans boo me, I think it's funny. You see what I'm saying? He tries to make humanizing statements. When they boo him at the draft, he's like, oh, you know what? At least they know who I am. You see what I'm saying? Like, he plays... a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When people throw him softballs, he hits them. It's like, oh, he's a human being. Gary Bettman literally is a big jackass. Okay? And I'm going to be doing this skit for the next 5, 10 years, however long we exist. Because, to me, everything in the whole interview was wrong. You know what I mean? You don't tell people I always want to be a lawyer. People, they hate lawyers. Have you ever met anybody who's like, you know what, I like hanging out with lawyers? And it never happens. They avoid lawyers like going to the proctologist. Oh, I gotta go see the lawyer. Goddamn lawyer. All my money goes to the lawyer. Nobody's like, oh, you know what? You know who protects the city that we live in? The lawyers. Thank God for the lawyers. They're like, thank God for teachers, policemen, firemen. Nobody's saying thank God for the lawyers. All I ever wanted to do was be a lawyer. Thank you for letting me vent, Ted. Because like I said, I'm like, this is the biggest idiot I have ever met in my life. And I haven't even met him. And it would be one thing if they, like, trapped him. You know what I mean? Like, they did investigative reports. And they're like, hey, Gary Bettman. Right? What did you want to be when you grew up? And then they posted a video and then they're making fun of him. No, it's a one-on-one interview where he thinks it's a good answer. He's like, yeah, thumbs up. People are going to like me. The only thing that even humanized them a little in the whole interview is he's, what do you want to do when you retire? Right? He goes, well, I'd like to spend time with my grandchildren. I'm surprised he didn't say, I just want to sit around counting money. I want to go over spreadsheets. Like he's that stupid.
So he can't even answer easy questions.
No, he can't answer easy questions. But this segues into real stuff. At the end of the day, it's fun to make fun of Gary Bettman because it's hockey. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who loses. A lot of people don't care about hockey. I read a a survey, right? And it was most popular sports in America, and like football was 1, baseball was 2. I'm sorry, NBA was 2, baseball was 3, right? And then they said, what sport do you hate the most? And hockey was 2.
No, most popular sports, basketball was 2 and baseball was 3?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Football was 1, right?
Well, football was 1 by like a mile and a half.
Wow.
But
baseball was 3.
But I've seen other surveys where it's football 1, baseball 2. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed, but
that's why I'm so mad about the NBA and the NHL. When I was a kid, they were about the same. They were about the same in popularity.
NBA and NHL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my head, it was always
like
baseball.
in the 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
I always thought of baseball as the most popular, then football, and then hockey and basketball were about the same for third, right? It was the big 4 and everything else, right? And then sometime probably in the 90s, football became number 1. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, football really.
And then it was football, baseball, and then the NBA started to get much more popular than the NHL. So, but it's fun to talk about those things because it literally doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like, do you think the NBA, overcame the NHL like around the time of like Larry Bird,
yep.
Magic Johnson?
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. That's exactly right. And you know what? I'm going to write that down because I want to talk about that right now before we switch gears.
Okay. And then a little later, Jordan, a few years later.
Magic, the NBA is basically popular. I wrote it down because I want to segue into this real quick, but then go where we were going to go. Okay? The NBA is that popular because Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, and then Michael Jordan took it to a whole new level, right? Magic Johnson quit his job since we did Beacon of Speech last, right? Did you hear why he quit his job?
Because it was too hard?
No, me and you, we've railed on him for saying it was too hard, right? You remember me just bashing on him. Magic doesn't want to work, Magic doesn't want to work, or the Magic doesn't want to work. I still believe that. But now there's a caveat. The league was built on Magic Johnson, okay? Do you know who the owner of the Lakers was?
The owner of the Lakers?
Yeah.
I should know this, but I don't.
Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss is a woman who was the daughter of Dr. Jerry Buss.
Yeah, he was a basketball player, wasn't he?
Dr. Jerry Buss. No, he was an owner for years and years. You're thinking of Jerry West.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Jeannie Buss is the daughter of the old owner, right? She said, I'm going to return the Lakers to glory. Magic Johnson is president or whatever his thing is. And I still stand by everything I said, that Magic Johnson just didn't want to work. Okay, he wanted to give the thumbs up and say, I'm Magic Johnson, right? But what made him quit, what pushed him over the edge was a secret until a week ago, right? Magic Johnson doesn't want to work. He's like, oh, you know what works? Or what sucks? Working, right? I better check my email so the boss knows that I'm working. Okay, I'm doing an email. And it's like noon, right? Oh, it says here, Magic is lazy and doesn't work. What? Magic is lazy and doesn't work? Well, who sent this email, right? Here, what happened is Jeannie Buss sent an email to the general manager that said, Magic is not working hard enough, which he wasn't. But she accidentally copied Magic Johnson on the email because the last email she sent to the GM and Magic Johnson. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when she sent an email to Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka or whatever the hell his name is, and then she's like, I gotta tell Rob that Magic's just not working hard enough. Rob Pelinka, oops, accidentally copies Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson comes in at noon. Oh, screw this, I quit! It wasn't that he was working. You see what I'm saying? He did not appreciate being called out by the owner. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what had happened is it leaked out to a reporter, right, that they accidentally copied Magic Johnson on this management email, and he literally quit that day. Right? That's why it was a rush. That's why he didn't talk to her. That's why. Now, everything I said before, I still stand by it.
This happened after we did the show last?
Yeah, after we did the show last. Because everybody said, why would he quit so fast? Right? And my speculation was he didn't want to work, and I still believe it. Right? He wanted to be Magic. He wanted to be everybody's friend. Right? And working 80 hours a week being the president sucks, and I still stand by all that. Jeannie Buss said the same exact thing. Now, I can speculate it on Beacon of Speech, right? And all it is freedom of speech. I'm throwing ideas out. I could be right. I could be wrong, right? And you could agree or disagree. We're having a conversation, right? But for your boss to email you that you don't work hard enough, right? That is something that might throw you off the edge. You see what I'm saying? And we'll use your job for an example, right? We'll use the fat man, you know, who he is. Say he sends a group email, and then he sends something to Jen. He's like, you know what, everybody works hard, except for Ted, right? And then he's like, oh, you know, he sends the email, but he accidentally copies you on it. What do you do when you get that?
I get mad.
You get mad, and you're like, oh, screw that fat man! I'll see him in the hell, I'll put my foot up his ass, right? But you could not quit. You're just like, God, this sucks. You know who doesn't work? The fat man. The fat man doesn't work, right? Magic Johnson's like, I'm Magic Johnson. Like, you see what I'm sitting on? I'm sitting on a big fat wad of cash. I'm getting the hell out of here. I do not need this. You see what I'm saying? Now, deep down, Magic Johnson had to know that he just wasn't working as hard as, you know, the president of the Clippers, president of the Nuggets, whatever. You see what I'm saying? But when I saw that, like, I couldn't stop laughing, like, on both ends, because you're an owner, you own Lakers. The Lakers are worth $2.whatever billion. You don't know how to use Gmail. You're like, oh, crap! Oh, Gmail, it's like splitting the act. Like, rich people are no smarter than us. You know what I mean? That is like a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I think the president of operations sucks. Oh, can't get that back. Hey, Magic, don't open up your emails. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you think... And again, it goes back to me, you, and the fat man, right? They try to make it think like they're splitting the atom, and they are literally no smarter than us. You see what I'm saying? Now, Jeannie Buss might be smarter than us, because I think she might be a doctor like her dad. But, you know, the fat man's not smarter than us. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I can't get past Magic. I can't get past what Magic Johnson had to look like when he's reading. He had to have been like, you know, his eyes had to shoot out like a cartoon. There's steam coming out of his ears. Genie!
Well, it's funny because, you know, when you think of Magic Johnson, you think of like
a happy guy,
a legend as a basketball player.
He helped build the NBA,
but he ends up getting like dissed just like anybody else.
Yeah, he's like you and me. He gets dissed just like me and you. And like I said, he would be like, "Oh, well, that's great." You know, Magic Johnson's like, "I'm not like Fred and Ted at all. I don't appreciate it." But what I wanted to segue into is, you know, people not working, you know, people working, people not working. At the end of the day, even if your boss sends you that email by mistake, your feelings are hurt, but you're screwed. You got to stay and work, right? Now, the other topic that me and you talked about last time we did it was China. Do you remember what the leader of, Alibaba said? Do you remember what the leader of Alibaba said?
I do remember talking about that.
He said he wants his employees to work as hard as him. 6, 6, 12. 6, 6, 12. 6 days a week. 6 to 6, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. Right? And he goes, I only expect from them what I give myself. Okay? Which goes back to Gary Bettman, I never stop working, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And I've said, how many times have you heard me say this? There's a big difference between saying you're working 12 hours a day and being in the office from 6 to 6 than actually going out and digging the ditch from 6 to 6.
Yeah.
Big difference. No, there's not! No, there's not! That goalie is the same! Big difference. You know, you're having martini lunches, you're taking me, blah, blah, blah. Right? So we talked about Alibaba last week. And this week I read a new article. It is from the Chinese company Huawei. Huawai. I could be misspelling it, but well, how would you pronounce that? Huawia. Huawei. Huawei. Okay, let's go with Huawei. Okay. They sent an investigative reporter. And in China, there are no investigative reporters, right? It's just you do what you do or else the communists put you in jail. Investigative reporters like, listen, I hear people are killing themselves in the building. And people don't leave. They don't go home, right? Well, so not only are they trying to outdo Alibaba by working 6 to 6, 6 days a week, whatever.
So do they live there?
Yeah, that's what they said. They got the investigative reporter, and he's like, I just want to be a janitor. And they're like, oh, we're always hiring janitors. So
what do they do there?
I don't even know. I didn't even read it. I only read the part where they said they sent an investigative reporter to the company. So he's in the company, right?
This is in China?
This is in China. So he's sitting there, and it's like Zuma, right? He sees a girl crying, over a thing, takes a picture, right? Oh, look, those guys are in line at the bathroom, and it's 4 in the morning, right? So he's taking a picture, time coding it. He's walking down the cubicles, and he takes a picture, right? And there's cots under the cubicles where people are sleeping because they don't go home. And again, me and you bitch about our jobs. Mostly me, not so much you, right? But it's like in China, it's even worse. And they're like, there's nowhere to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when the guy leaks it out to the press, they're not like, we're going to fix it. They're like, we're going to find that guy and prosecute him. And we don't need people to know that we got cots under our desk. I mean, there's pictures of people under the cots, time-coded, at 2 in the morning. They're in their suit and tie, and they're curled up, and the phone's ringing. You see what I'm saying? And it's not like they're working the night shift.
The problem isn't that people are being treated, inhumanely. It's that somebody reported that they're
Right, which goes back to, that's the great scam in America, and not even in America, in the whole world.
He's a troublemaker.
Goddamn troublemakers! We're going to find that guy and kill his family. Because it's China. It's not like America where you could sell it to the New York Times and they're like, what the hell's going on at Hawaii or whatever. And next thing you know, CNN's there, Fox News, and they're demanding to be let in. No, it's China. And they're like, we do not know what this sleeping under the desk of what you speak of. You see what I'm saying? And again, I'm not saying you should be working yourself to death. What I'm saying is exactly what me and you talk about. People who don't work all the time try to convince you they're working all the time. And you know where I got that from? Ted Coley. He's the one who told me, because you're right. Gary Bettman's like, you don't understand. I'm worried about the Colorado-Vancouver game at 3 in the morning. Well, you know what? You're a scumbag. Okay? That guy is not working 24/7. Just like, and you know who really is working 24/7? Poor people in China. They never go home. I can't even imagine. Now, you could be like, firemen never get home, but it's like 1 day on, 2 days off. It's part of the job. And that's why a lot of people respect firemen. You don't get home for a day. You know what I mean? But it should be illegal what they're doing to the people in China.
Yeah.
Don't you feel better about your job now that we talked about what's going on in China?
Yeah, I actually do.
At least you're not sleeping at your desk. You only work six days a week, 8 hours a day. But, okay, let's go away from work and go towards fun. Yay, fun. When me and Ted worked together, we used to listen to Howard Stern show. I listen to Howard Stern show. You listen to Howard Stern show. We listened to it on WNCX. Is that correct?
Yes, 98.5.
Because of the Howard Stern show, WNCX was number 2 in the ratings, basically, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Basically based off of the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
The Howard Stern show was number 1, and then the whole station was number 2 because of the Howard Stern show, because the ratings were so high.
What was number 1? Magic?
Yeah, I believe Magic was number 1. But not during that day part. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Howard Stern was number 1, Lanigan and Malone was like 3, but because people stayed with Magic all day, they were still the number 1 station where people left WNCX. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, Howard Stern says, screw terrestrial radio. I want the freedom to do whatever I want to do. I am going to Sirius. Now, we find out this week that when he said what he wanted to do, whatever he wanted to do, did not want to be more outrageous. He wanted to be less outrageous, which is the opposite of what you thought was going to happen. Did you get that Sirius subscription?
No.
I did not either. Howard Stern came out on Hollywood Reporter this week, and he said...
So he shouldn't have left then.
Well, but that's the whole thing. He said that he regretted his whole career from the start until he got to Sirius, because he felt like he was too mean, and he was pushing the envelope, and he was pushing too hard, and he was being a jerk.
And meanwhile, the only reason he got that Sirius contract is because of those things.
Because everything he did is the only reason he got, what was it, $100 million contract or whatever. And then he complained on the radio, it wasn't really $100 million after taxes. Right?
Now, does he have to pay everybody out of that $100 million, like Fred and those guys, or?
I do not believe so, because that $100 million, when he was crying about he had to pay taxes, he got ownership share. You see what I'm saying? So there was still a budget for the Howard Stern show. Now, he could have been like, you know, I love Artie and Gary, so I'm going to buy them new cars. In theory, he could have done that. I find it hard to believe, but he could have done it. Okay? So now he came out in the Hollywood Reporter, and he said all he ever wants to do now is give good interviews and talk to celebrities and have discussions, kind of like the David Letterman show on Netflix. You see what I'm saying? Where all you're doing is interviews, but... Me and you talked about this on the phone. The only reason he got famous is making fun of people doing softball interviews like the one given to Gary Bettman. And that's why he got popular. He's like, hey, what the audience wants to know is, do you do anal? Do you do it? Right? He didn't do it by telling me about the diet book that you wrote. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now he's like, all I want to do is talk to people about their interests, like the diet book. That's all you made fun of for 20 years. It's like everything is up, everything is down. It's like everybody's trying to force feed you crap, and the people who are getting crapped on don't have time to bitch about it. You see what I'm saying? You know, Howard Stern made a lot of enemies, right? But the whole point is that he's like, I'm the king of all media. And the whole time he's like, oh, I have regret. Well, you didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? Well, I wanted that $100 million contract. Okay, well, but at what cost? You regret your whole career. Every minute that me and you listened to, he regretted. You know? It's like, Fred, do you regret speaking a speech? No! We do what I do, and Ted helps me. And if I regret, maybe I'm too loud, I yelled at Ted or something at the end of the show. I'm like, hey, Ted, I shouldn't have said blah, blah, blah. And I apologize, heat of the moment. And Ted's like, okay, well, that's another notch that I have that I will kill you one day. But I appreciate you at least making an effort to apologize. Right? Howard Stern, how many times did he say, I don't apologize to anybody? Right? All these people who don't apologize to anybody, and then they're, you know, and this is what got me mad. Okay, is Howard Stern said the reason he regretted everything is because he had a cancer scare. And cancer's horrible. Would you say that's fair? Right?
Yeah.
But he didn't have cancer. It'd be like, well, what do you mean you had a cancer scare? Oh, well, there were some irregular cells, so they took a biopsy. And it scared me, so I didn't go to work. And it'd be like, okay, well, what did the results say? Oh, they said not cancer. Oh, but you said you had a cancer scare. Well, I had to face my own mortality. What if it was? But it wasn't! Real people have cancer. You know what I mean? And I can understand, I've met a lot of people, and I told Ted this, I work with a lady, and she's had 3 different types of cancer. You know, and she's like, I live life to the fullest. You know, don't waste a day. Every day is a present. You know, God shines a light on her. She's got a great attitude. But she had real cancer, right? Her cancer scare is she had cancer. I don't want to hear from people who have cancer scares who are like, oh, no, I took a cancer test that said negative. You know, anybody could take a biopsy. They could take a biopsy of me right now, right? I have a fatty liver, okay? The whole time I've gone to the doctor, they'd be like, Fred, you've had a fatty liver for 15 years. We're going to make sure that it's not liver cancer. I'd be like, oh, my God, it'd be good. And then they take the test, and they're like, oh, no, it's a fatty liver. I'm not going to go, oh, my God, I don't even fucking know who Ted Coley is. Screw him. I always hated Ted Coley. I always wanted it to be the Fred Hunt show. I never wanted it to be the Beacon of Speech with Fred and Ted.
Here's one regret.
Yeah, my one regret. I never wanted to do it with him. You see what I'm saying? It'd be like, you know, you can be scared straight by a car accident and all this. But even Howard Stern's come to Jesus, I know he doesn't go to Jesus, come to Jesus moment, right? His biggest come to Jesus moment was nothing. I mean, it was literally nothing. It'd be like, I was walking down the street and I saw a piano fall down, right? And I'm going to take this one step further, okay? Do you remember 9/11?
Yes.
Do you remember where you heard about 9/11?
Yeah, where I was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was driving the van, right? Gary gets on the radio. I'm listening to Howard Stern show. Gary goes, hey, you know, I don't mean to alarm you, but the North Tower's on fire. Maybe he said South Tower. I don't remember. But he said, tower's on fire. And they're like, what tower? And they're like, the Twin Towers. And it looks like maybe an airplane accidentally hit it, right? And Howard Stern was talking about Pam Anderson, how he'd like to bang Pam Anderson, right? And he's like, well, keep me abreast. And I'm like, well, screw this. I'm not listening to Howard Stern show. And I turned it right off, and I went right to WTAM. And whatever was on WTAM, they're like, oh, the Indians lost 5-4, right? And it's like, well, I don't care about that. So I went back to 92.3, right? And they're like, hey, Howard, I don't mean to interrupt, but something's going on. There's cop cars, and it looks like there could be a second fire, but I can't tell from where I'm looking, right? So then I did not turn off the Howard Stern show, right? So in my mind, Howard Stern should have said, oh, my God, I watched the towers fall. I regret being an a-hole my whole life. But that didn't affect him at all. You see what I'm saying? It'd be like, you know, oh, 5,000 people just died. I need to reevaluate my life. No, next morning, he's like, wow, that was horrible. He's like, hey, Gwyneth Paltrow, do you do anal? Oh, we're going to heal. You know what I mean? Like, your come to Jesus moment should not have been, I almost had cancer, and you didn't. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, me and you, we didn't see the Twin Towers, right? We didn't see the Pentagon. I remember walking in Parker Hannafin, and I'm watching, and somebody's running out, and they're like, the tower fell, and they're crying, and people are crying. And you remember Parker Hannafin, they had all those TVs.
Yeah, they were running out of there.
Yeah. So they're running all the Twin Towers things, and I'm like, I gotta keep going because I might get pulled off the road. You know what I mean?
That was when the first tower fell. That was shocking.
Yeah, I remember getting teary-eyed. I'm like, oh my God, right? But I was in the basement of a corporation watching it on TV. I was not watching it out my window like, oh my God, do you feel the ground moving? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was.
So one of the things that bothered me, another thing that bothered me about the Howard Stern interview is when I was a kid, one of my favorite shows was Mork and Mindy, right? Robin Williams said after the fact he did Mork and Mindy, coked out of his mind almost every episode. You remember that?
Yeah, I think I heard that.
And then when Robin Williams started to do movies, I liked Robin Williams, right? And there's a movie called The Fisher King that I really liked. But as much as it was funny, it made me sad and it made me feel bad about myself. Okay? And The Fisher King was an upsetting movie. Okay? And I'm like, you know what? And then he started to do movies that weren't funny. They were like, I want to make you feel something. I want to touch you. Like Patch Adams. And what was it? When he had no memory and then he woke up for 2 weeks and then he died. I don't remember what movie that was. And I'm like, you know what? Who I hate? I hate Robin Williams. Right? Because it's like he forgot how to be funny. It's a comedian who's like, you know what's boring? Being a comedian. Oh, yeah, I know. It must suck. You make tons of money and you're like, oh, you know what sucks? Being a comedian. You know what I mean? And then you find out that, he dealt with all these issues and making people laugh was his way of dealing with it. Right? And it was like, oh, well, guess what? I still don't like Robin Williams past about Fisher King. Anything before I liked him past Fisher King, didn't really like Robin Williams. Okay, but there's a lot of people like that. Jim Carrey's the same way. He used to be the funniest guy. Past about Liar Liar, everything he has done either makes you sad or is garbage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying you can't be a dramatic actor. I'm just saying if you're a funny guy, try to keep being funny. Bill Murray, he did some serious acting. He did Razor's Edge. Yeah. He did what was the movie Hunter Thompson? He did Where the Buffalo Roam. He did a couple of serious but then he's like, I'm a funny guy, and then he's like doing comedies again. You see what I'm saying? So like Bill Murray never said I disassociate myself from comedy. You see what I'm saying? Now, Chevy Chase may have said, I disassociate myself from comedy by accident because he just wasn't funny anymore. You see what I'm getting at? But the point of my story is, and we'll go back to Robin Williams, is Howard Stern said his biggest regret was with Robin Williams. Because Robin Williams came on and they're talking about funny stuff. Oh, hey, I'm the funniest guy on TV. I'm the funniest guy on radio. Oh, hey, a wild and crazy guy. Doing all the crazy stuff.
The thing is that I think Robin Williams did come on the Howard Stern show, but I think it was very early in...
Right, and then he stopped. And he stopped because Howard Stern turned to him and he was basically like, are you on coke now? And he's like, oh, no, I'm not on coke. Right? And he's coked out of his skull. And Howard Stern says, are you on coke? And he goes, you know what? He goes, basically, you're not that funny. You're a coked up womanizer who effed your nanny. Right? And they beeped out effed. And Robin Williams was like, I'm never coming on the show again. And, after a show, he left. Right? Never came back. Right? Howard Stern was like, well, he's a really funny guy. I should not have said that to him. The problem is that he was coked out of his skull. Right? And he did F his nanny. He was with his wife. He's banging the nanny while the kid's like in the house. You see what I'm saying? Robin Williams was horrible. Howard Stern said it the way it is, and Howard Stern's like, I regret saying it. It's like, but that's how you made your money, by saying crap like that. Yeah. So it's back to shoot the messenger. You see what I'm saying? And Howard's like, well, I regret, because he didn't regret, you know what? He didn't regret saying it. He regretted it because Robin Williams never came on his show again. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. He's like, I would have liked to talk to Robin Williams before he hung himself. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. We could have had a quiet retrospect on Sirius. And then, if there was any karmic justice, Bubba the Love Sponge could have made fun of Howard Stern throwing softballs to Robin Williams. And like I said, we don't do interviews here. I don't mind doing interviews, but like I said, nobody's going to talk to us because we don't have any followers. Well, maybe one day we'll have interviews. But basically, this is a release valve so my head doesn't explode. Okay? Because the whole thing with Howard, like, I'm tired of everybody saying what's up is down. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Jim Brewer wasn't that funny of a guy, but he was on Saturday Night Live. And he said he hates doing Goat Boy You remember when he did Go
Yeah,
Boy?
I love that.
Because he said he's just tired of it. There's nowhere to go. And he goes, it's not that he hates the character. He's just tired of it. Because people ask him for 30 years, do Go Boy!
See, and I would be one of those people.
Yeah. If we saw Jim Brewer, that's what we would say. We wouldn't say... My first question to Jim Brewer would be like, did you have fun doing Half-Baked? Because I love that movie. And second would be, do Go Boy! Right? Now, Jim Brewer, I understand why he would say, like, hey, I don't like Go Boy. But he says, I'm going to keep cracking jokes till I die because that's what I do. I'm Jim Brewer. Well, none of your jokes are really that funny, but I respect that you're going to go out in a blaze of glory. You know what I mean? Pissing people off and doing the Jim Brewer's, you know.
And also, isn't he the one who would do, like, AC/DC?
Yeah.
That's, like, the two things that I know about him and I like.
And he said,
and whenever I hear AC/DC on the radio, I think of Jim Brewer.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is own it. And if you say, like, say we're doing this in 20 years, right? And in 20 years, you know, Fred Hug from the grave. I am Putin. Like I could be like, you know what? I'm sick of doing the Putin skit. You know what I mean? The Putin's been dead, and I get it. My mask smells. You know, it's like Slipknot. You know, after a few years, the mask smells. I get it. We did the Putin skit, right? And you're tired of it. That I understand. But if you're a comedian, keep working the thing. You know what I mean? And the whole premise of, and I always interrupt the introduction, but it's about free speech. You know, exchange of ideas, free speech. It'd be like, you know, in 20 years, I'm like, you know what we shouldn't have done? We shouldn't have let people have free speech. You know, that was idiotic. And the whole time I regretted saying people should have free speech. I regret defending the First Amendment. You know, you see what I'm getting at? Because me and you were talking about Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh is a one-trick pony. From the time he started to the time now, he sells conservatism. Right? Right now, he sells conservatism in a different way than he sold it 30 years ago, but he's still selling conservatism. That's what he's doing. That's what I want to do. We're selling free speech here. Even if we're talking about football, baseball, Howard Stern, you know, we're talking about beating up the NHL commissioner, right? Free exchange of ideas, okay? Now, I know there's limits and there's certain things that we don't touch, you know, just for discretion's sake, right? But all these people, like, literally renouncing everything that made them millionaires, it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
And it's
like I said, if Howard Stern didn't do those things, nobody would know.
Nobody would know. Nobody would know. I told Ted.
So he wishes he would have the fame that he has now, but not have to do those things.
Yeah, but not do how he got to be famous.
Yeah, it's like, well, then you wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have been famous. You would have been the morning host on Detroit, Detroit AM or whatever. And be like, oh, well, it's so nice of you to come through, Steve Yzerman, the new GM of the Detroit Red Wings. And how does it feel transitioning from player days to general manager days? And you're at home going, oh, wasn't Howard Stern funny 30 years ago?
You know what? He probably basically would have been Jeff Kinsback.
Yeah. Great analogy. Great analogy.
Who is pretty well known here.
Oh, yeah, here, but nowhere else. Howard Stern wanted to be the top. How do you get to the top? You step on a bunch of little people. And he did.
Yeah.
A ton of little people. And to make it even better, and you'll get a kick out of this, why was he interviewed on The Hollywood Reporter, Ted Coley?
Why was he interviewed?
Why was he? And this is the cherry on top of the sundae.
I don't know.
He wrote 2 New York Times bestsellers. Do you know the 2 New York Times bestsellers? One was Miss America. What was the other one?
Private Parts.
Private Parts. And they were bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list, right? Why did Howard Stern not write a 3rd book?
I don't know.
It's hard to write a book! And he said so in the interview. But now that his career is winding down, he did the interview with the Hollywood Reporter because he's selling the 3rd book which is his career of regrets up until... He's not even telling you he regrets his career for free. He wants you to buy the book so he can make more money.
And maybe in 10 years, he'll regret selling you a third book.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like everything with Howard Stern is a scam. How can I make money? Now, again, I don't begrudge people making money. Sam Walton, okay? We're going to take Sam Walton for example, okay? Sam Walton was a dopey guy from Arkansas, by all accounts. People kept saying Sam Walton was not that smart. And they said the reason he got where he was is that he hired smart people, right? And he didn't have hobbies. He's like, well, we're going to open another Walmart, and we're going to open another Walmart. And you know what? We're going to open another Walmart, and we're going to decrease wages, and we're going to increase inventory. You see what I'm saying? And they said everything was really basic with Sam Walton. Cheap prices, low costs. Very basic. Until the end, he's still opening Walmarts. And, he's going to his deathbed, and he's like, well, I think I want to expand the market to Nevada and Washington. And what we want to do is keep the prices low. The way we keep the prices low is through distribution streams, and we don't pay our employees a lot of money, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? Like, he never got off that one-trick pony, and he was a billionaire. On his deathbed, he did not go, I wish I paid people more money. On his deathbed, he goes, for my 6 children, here's $1 billion for you, and $1 billion for you, and $1 billion for you. Right? He worked Walmart straight to the grave. You see what I'm saying? He never, at his deathbed, said, you know what, I feel really bad for screwing all those employees who were getting food stamps while they were working for me. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So Sam Walton was unapologetic. How can I make $10 billion and give it to my kids? And that's the whole thing. Just own it. Jeff Bezos, he's like, I want Amazon to conquer the world. I want a coffin lined with money when I die. Right? I was reading about Jeff Bezos this week, and he says that he wants to go to the moon. Right? And he wants to put colonies on the moon. It'd be like, well, you could pay Amazon. Whoa, let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. Well, there's Amazon workers working 16 hours a day, and because their salary, they're actually making under minimum wage. I want to go. What don't you understand? I want to go to the moon. And I want to fly to the moon and have colony. You see what I'm saying? Like, he is, like, unapologetic, just like Sam Walton. You see what I'm saying? And at least Howard Stern... at least Jeff Bezos is unapologetic. Howard said, I'm sorry, I'll never get to say goodbye to Robin Williams, and he was so funny. But he was telling the truth. And nobody wants to hear the truth anymore. And now you could turn around and say, well, Fred Hunt, you know what? Beacon of speech and makes no money, and you might as well just be pissing in the wind. Well, that's fair, because it's got the honest truth. Right? You know how many Browns quarterbacks jerseys I have, Ted Coley?
How many Browns?
Yeah. How many Browns quarterback jerseys? There's been like 30 in the last 7 years, right? How many do I
own? 3.
I own 1. 1 Browns jersey of a Browns quarterback. And you know who it is? I'm going to turn around. I'm going to let you look. See if you remember.
Oh. Charlie Fry, is it?
Charlie Fry. Charlie Fry is the patron saint. I'm going to write this down. Charlie Fry is the patron saint of Beacon of Speech, okay? Because Charlie Fry grew up about an hour outside of Cleveland, okay? I want to say he grew up in Willard or Findlay or one of those, moderate towns like Worcester, okay? And when he was growing up, the only thing he ever wanted to do was grow up and be a quarterback for the Browns. Right? That was his goal. Just like I wanted to play indoor soccer, you wanted to play football. Right? He wanted to be quarterback of the Browns. Right? So he went to the University of Akron and he lit up the University of Akron. But University of Akron, it's not like Ohio State or Michigan State or anything. It's University of Akron. Crappy little University of Akron. Cleveland Browns said, We like the way Charlie Fry carries himself and the way he led a small market team to a lot of victories, right? They didn't win anything big, but they won a lot of games. Threw for a ton of yards. They're like, we're going to draft him in the 3rd round and make him the quarterback of the future. Charlie Fry's like, my dreams have come true. I love the Browns, right? And he started the year on the bench. And then in the second part of the year, he played, and he played terrible. Terrible. You remember that? Mm-hmm. He was horrible. And people started to turn on Charlie Fry. Charlie Fry said the whole offseason, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to be the best quarterback the Browns can be. They told me I'm the quarterback of the future. And for 6 months, he's lifting weights, working hard, studying film. I'm going to be the best quarterback there ever was, right? From day one, new Browns season, they said, Charlie Fry, you're the quarterback of the future. We are building the Browns.
Do you remember what year that was?
I don't, but if I will look it up after. We are building the whole franchise on your back. We're putting it on your back. We're going to grow with you. If you have growing pains, we're going to have growing pains. You're going to take us to the Super Bowl, right? Now, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, but are you ready? Charlie Fry played 1 game after being named the future of the Browns, right? And he sucked. He was horrible, right? He went in the locker room, oh, it's a steep learning curve, but it's the first day of the rest of my life. I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked. I'm going to go take a shower, okay? I'll see you later. Charlie Fry walked away from his locker. He walked into the shower. What did they do to Charlie Fry after 1 game as the future of the franchise?
Cut him.
They traded him. 1 day, he was traded. He walks in, hey, what do you mean I'm traded to the Raiders? Right? His whole dreams, everything was shattered, right? And he kicked around the league. I think he was the backup for the Raiders for 2 years. And I think in 5 years he had totally washed out of the league, right? And I heard on WTAM, Andre Knott was making fun of him. And they're like, Charlie Fry, they put all their eggs in one basket. And after 1 week, they knew it wasn't going to work. And they tossed them out like yesterday's garbage, right? So say you want to make the analogy of you and me. Say we hit the big time. You know, say the Blaze calls. Says we want, you know what? We've watched all 107 of your episodes. We've read all 400 of your articles. We love you, right? We're building Saturday nights around Fred and Ted and Beacon of Speech, right? And we're like, whoa, awesome. And then we do one show and they're like, nobody listened, out you go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's how fast it can go, like in anything. You know what I mean? Charlie Fry thought he had 3 or 4 years to figure it out. He had 3 hours. You see what I'm getting at? And so you can make fun of me. Oh, Fred, you're a loser. Fred, you know. And Ted's laughing because he knows people who are like, oh, Fred, you're a loser. But in my head, the dream is still there. So until it gets crushed underfoot, you know, one day maybe it'll happen. But I also know even if it does happen, I could end up like Charlie Fry. You know, or George Costanza. You remember Everything Goes Back to Seinfeld, right? George Costanza, they're doing the pilot of the show, and then he thinks he has skin cancer, right? He's like, I know it's skin cancer because we're just about to be successful, right? Is that right?
I just remember, wasn't he like... He didn't know what it was, and he's like, oh, God, is it lupus?
Yeah, lupus. Is it lupus? Oh, my God. Yeah.
You know, it's just so neurotic.
Yeah. So, but
Which I'm not making fun of. I can relate to that.
Oh, no. But I said 1 hour. We're up to the 1 hour mark. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley. We have to wrap it up fast or else I'm in big trouble. Long story short, I'm not telling you. I'll tell Ted off the air. I'll tell it in my book in 20 years and sell it to you for $35.